Hey folks, welcome back to my crazy life stories, where I dive into the wildest, most entertaining tales I can find. I'm gonna unpack this one, have a good laugh, and share the insanity with you. Today, I'm telling you about a saga I call How I Left My Unfaithful Ex Behind, ended up with my kids nanny years later, and turned into a classic story. But I'm happier than ever. This is all about me, a regular guy who went through the ringer when I divorced my cheating ex-wife. Man, let me tell you, she was a real piece of work, the kind of person who makes you shake your head at the chaos they cause. But here's the kicker. I got the last laugh in a bunch of ways that'll have you cheering. That divorce was a mess, but it peeled back the curtain on who she really was, showing all the selfish, messy traits she'd kept hidden. It wasn't just the cheating, though that was bad enough. It was everything else that came with it. Writing this down is tough because, even now, that divorce stirs up some anger. It's not as raw as it used to be, but it still gets under my skin sometimes, like a stubborn itch. My therapist told me putting it on paper might help. So here I am, spilling it all. I met my ex, and we were together for 2 years before things went south. We had our son before we tied knot, and I poured everything into being a solid husband and dad. I'm an introvert, so stepping up like that didn't come easy. I was learning from scratch, but I gave it my all, no question. The problem was, my ex and I were like night and day. Sure, they say opposites attract, and maybe that spark worked at first, but soon we were clashing hard. Those differences that seemed cute early on turned into constant arguments. I found out she hated compromising, always bulldozing her way through with sneaky tactics or straight-up manipulation. She loved splashing cash on fancy stuff, acting like she deserved every penny, even if it meant stretching us thin. Honestly, she wasn't much of a wife or mom. She was all about herself, glued to her phone while I was juggling everything. Our son's doctor visits, his care, you name it. I was burning out, drowning in responsibilities, while she dodged anything that felt like work. Looking back, I gotta ask myself, why did I marry her? Was she different before, and then changed after our son came along? Or was I just blind to who she was? Either way, I stuck it out until the final straw hit. She cheated on me with her ex. We'd both agreed from the start that cheating was a deal breaker, no exceptions. The second I found out, I knew I had to get out. I didn't want to fight, so I planned my exit like a secret mission. I found a house to rent 2 hours away. My job's remote, so that was no issue. I quietly pulled my name off our apartment lease, cut ties with the utilities, and moved my money out of our joint account. While she was off at some spa day, or whatever she called it, I made my move. I left divorce papers on the table, along with copies of proof of her cheating, which I also sent to her family. By the time she got back, me and a moving company were gone. I blocked her on everything, phone, email, you name it, and wrapped it all up in 6 hours flat. I wasn't one of those guys who finds out about cheating and just deals with it for the kid's sake. Nah, she wasn't just unfaithful, she was a nightmare. Manipulation, lies, drama, you name it. Thank goodness I saw it just 2 years in. After I settled into my new place, her family blew up my phone. Her cousins sent apologies, saying they'd seen this coming. Her mom was a wreck, saying she didn't raise her daughter to act like this. And both she and my ex's aunt begged me to give the marriage another shot. I wasn't buying it, especially not from her aunt, who seemed cut from the same cloth as my ex. Then came the threats and nasty messages from my ex, using random numbers. I kept blocking them, but it got so bad I just ditched my phone and got a new one. The divorce wasn't a walk in the park, thanks to her. She tried to spin it like I'd kidnapped our son, even dragging me to court. But I laid out the truth. I'd been the one handling everything, our home, our son's health, his speech therapy, all of it. The judge was shocked but fair, and since I was clearly the main caregiver, he tossed out her claims. I also showed proof of her cheating and all the money she'd blown through. Here's the wild part. I got her a fair partner to fess up. He was some loser still living with his parents, and I bluffed about suing him for messing with my marriage. It was a long shot, but he cracked and spilled everything. With all that evidence, even her side turned against her. The divorce wasn't a walk in the park, thanks to her. She tried to spin it like I'd kidnapped our son, even dragging me to court. But I laid out the truth. I'd been the one handling everything: our home, our son's health, his speech therapy, all of it. The judge was shocked but fair, and since I was clearly the main caregiver, he tossed out her claims. I also showed proof of her cheating and all the money she'd blown through. Here's the wild part. I got her affair partner to fess up. He was some loser still living with his parents, and I bluffed about suing him for messing with my marriage. It was a long shot, but he cracked and spilled everything. With all that evidence, even her side turned against her. I got back almost all my money. Just had to pay a little alimony for a year, since she'd quit her job. In the custody battle, I won primary custody, and she got stuck with supervised visitation because of all the threatening texts she sent me. Talk about tripping over her own feet, since I'd moved 2 hours away and she didn't drive. She went months without seeing our son until her cousin gave her a ride. Honestly, with how she acted, that distance was a blessing. A boy needs a mom, but not one who's more trouble than she's worth. Living on my own with my son felt like a massive weight lifted off my chest. For the first time in years, I was at peace. No drama, no nonsense, just quiet. Guys who've been through this get it. That moment when you break free and life feels good again. I decided to make the most of this fresh start. I kept working from home, and because my son has autism, I got a care provider to help out, and an ABA therapist for his therapy at home. It was like night and day. Things were so much better than I can even put into words. My ex, though, didn't give up. A few months after her visit started, she switched gears, saying she was sorry and wanted to be a better person for me and our son. Yeah, right. Like she'd just flip a switch and change. I wasn't falling for it. One day, she showed up with suitcases, trying to move and like nothing had happened. I shut that down fast and called the cops. She tried everything, crying, sweet-talking, the works, but I wasn't budging. She kept at it. Even got her mom and dad to text me, begging on her behalf. I ended up ditching that old phone for good, sold it for some cash, and moved on. About a year later, I started getting close with my son's care provider. Things were finally looking up, and life felt like it was falling into place. Life started feeling good again, and a big reason was the woman who came into my world, my son's care provider. She was a breath of fresh air, so kind and gentle, nothing like my ex. Her thoughtfulness and upbeat attitude lit up the room, always ready to lend a hand with a smile. The catch: she was 11 years younger than me. I was 30, and she was just 19. Studying to become a nurse. That age gap raised some eyebrows in my head, and I could only imagine how much it'd rile up my ex or anyone else who heard about it, her family, mine, or any woman my age. I kept things professional, not making any moves, knowing it could stir trouble. One day, though, everything changed. While my son napped, she whipped up an amazing lunch for us. As we sat down to eat, she opened up, admitting she was drawn to me and wanted to date for real. My first thought was that it might not work. Her job as a care provider had strict rules about getting close to clients, and for good reason. Plus, that age difference loomed large in my mind. She was ready to quit her job if it meant we could be together, which showed how serious she was. I told her I needed time to think. My divorce had left me burned out on dating, my heart still bruised from the betrayal. But I couldn't deny I was smitten with her warmth and spirit. So, I suggested we take it slow, do things the right way, and see where it led. We dated for 4 years, taking our time, and it was the best decision I could have made. She graduated nursing school and became a full-time nurse, and we got married. After everything I'd been through, I was determined to be a better husband this time around. Her lively, joyful energy made it easy to step up. My son even started calling her mom, and the first time he did, my heart skipped a beat. I knew she was the one. I'd been cautious, moving slowly to protect myself after my ex's chaos, but that pace only seemed to make our bond stronger. She wasn't used to guys taking their time, and I think it made her respect me more. Funnily enough, I stayed tight with my ex's cousins, a group of no-nonsense firefighters and military folks. They cared about my ex, but respected me even more for how I handled things. They'd check in on me and my son, even inviting us on family vacations. Things were going great, until my ex found out about my new wife a few years back. She lost it, showing up at my wife's nursing school to confront her. It was a scary moment for my wife, and I was furious, ready to lose my cool when I stepped in to stop it. We filed restraining orders right away, and now my ex isn't allowed anywhere near my family, including our son. She's limited to video chats or supervised visits at a place we choose. Every time she messes up, she digs herself deeper, and it's clear she's not stable, though that's no excuse for her actions. Over the years, she tried getting her cousins to talk me into helping her, but they shut her down. Even her mom and dad gave up on her. The last time we talked, she claimed she could have won me back. I half joked that she'd need to join the military to learn some discipline, and unbelievably, she tried. Didn't last long. She got kicked out for some kind of rule breaking. Now she's out there on social media, posting about forgiveness and second chances, claiming modern women are misunderstood. Some folks eat up her nonsense, probably because they're wired the same way. My wife, bless her, tells me not to sweat it. She's so patient, understanding how my ex left me with trust issues. We're even planning to have our first child together soon, and I'm set on doing things better this time. The big lesson I've learned is for any guy who's been betrayed, don't settle. There's someone out there who'll love and respect you more than the person who hurt you. My ex's antics didn't stop here, though. Oh no. The drama kept coming, but we'll get to that. After my first marriage, I vowed to be smarter the second time around. I learned to spot trouble early and not put up with nonsense. When folks ask about red flags, I admit I missed a lot with my ex. 4 years ago, I was clueless, barely checking for warning signs. My second marriage was different. I had a long list of things to watch for, which is why I took 4 years to commit. That first marriage taught me hard lessons, and I'm grateful for it. My ex came from a messy family, with a mom who had 3 or 4 daughters by different men, never marrying any of them. Her aunt and most of her mom's side were the same way, chaos all around. I should have seen the signs, but I was too green. My new wife, though, comes from a rock-solid family, the second youngest of 6 siblings, with a tight-knit support system. Once I showed I was serious, they welcomed me like one of their own, and it's been a game-changer. Some people raised their eyebrows about my wife being a nurse, tossing around stereotypes about hospital drama. I get it, those stories are out there. But I trust her. She goes out of her way to check in during her shifts, easing my worries. We even signed a prenup, just to be safe. So if anything goes wrong, she walks away with nothing. I'm not hovering over her or hiring detectives. That's no way to live. I've chosen to have faith, but I'm not naive. If things go south, I've got options. For now, she's proven herself, and I'm hopeful. Her agreeing to the prenup, even with our age gap, showed she respects me, and that means a lot. My son's doing great with her, too. With his mom barely around because of the restraining orders, he's grown super close to my wife, like she's his real mom. It's a beautiful thing to see after all we've been through. My son, who's 4 years old now, has grown so attached to my current wife, and it's the sweetest thing to see. Every morning when we drop him off at school, he gets teary-eyed, clinging to her as she heads out the door. At his age, kids are super glued to their moms, and since my ex barely spent time with him, he never really bonded with her. Honestly, that's probably for the best, given how she's acted. My ex has been relentless, trying to get the restraining order lifted, so she can see our son in person instead of just video calls. She even promised to pay all the back child support she owes me, about $10,000, which floored me because I didn't think she had that kind of cash. Curious about where this money was coming from, I reached out to her cousins, who I'm still close with since they respect me more than they do her. They spilled the beans. She'd started an OnlyFans account. That was a hard no for me. I went straight to the custody center and made it clear I wasn't comfortable letting our son be around someone working in that industry. I don't know the details of what she's posting, and frankly, I don't want to know. It could be anything from harmless stuff to things I'd rather not think about. Either way, having a parent involved in that kind of work just doesn't sit right with me when it comes to my kids' well-being. Some might call me harsh, but I'm not taking chances with his safety or health. I've even been mulling over asking her to sign away her parental rights altogether. It's a big step, but I need firm boundaries. If she had a wealthy boyfriend bankrolling her, maybe I could have looked past it, but an OnlyFans gig? That's a whole different level of public exposure I'm not okay with. Things took a wild turn recently, and I'm still reeling from it. I've been dealing with this mess for about 5 years now, ever since the divorce. My ex has been a constant headache, especially after she tried to confront my wife at her nursing school, which led to the restraining orders. Those orders aren't permanent, though, and she's been fighting tooth and nail to get them lifted so she can see our son. I don't trust her one bit, not around my son, my wife, or anyone in my family. She's threatened my wife multiple times, tried to sue me for moving away with our son, missed child support payments, got kicked out of the military for some disciplinary issue, and now this OnlyFans thing. When she reached out, claiming she'd pay all the overdue child support to prove she's back on her feet, I shut it down the moment I heard about her new gig. I've been talking to my lawyer to figure out how to keep her at a distance. He explained that unless I can prove she's been violent or neglectful toward our son, it's tough to argue she's a danger to him. Before the divorce, I was the one handling all his care, so I can't claim she put him in harm's way. She mostly just ignored him, plopping him in front of an iPad while she did her own thing. I asked if that could count as neglect, but my lawyer said it's a long shot. I brought up the restraining orders my wife filed, but he said those only show tension between the two women, not between my ex and our son. Meanwhile, she's been posting online, spreading lies that my wife is neglecting our son and even claiming she's bound to cheat on me because she's a nurse. It's infuriating, and I'm desperate to make the restraining order permanent to protect my family. Then, things hit a whole new level of crazy. One day, I got a call from my son's school that left me shaking. My ex, who's not allowed within 1,000 feet of my family because of the restraining order, showed up at his school and tried to take him. My stomach dropped. I'd heard stories of parents pulling stunts like this, and it never ends well. Thankfully, I'd already warned the school that only my wife or I could pick him up, so they stopped her. I raced over there, heart pounding, and found her standing with 2 school security guards, keeping her in check. I was livid, shouting that she had no business being there, while she yelled back, accusing me of keeping her from our son for too long. It turned into a heated argument, with the guard stepping in to keep us apart. I called the police and laid out the situation. She's my ex, under restraining order for trying to force her way into my home, harassing my wife, and sending threatening messages. This wasn't her first time breaking the order, either. She tried to downplay it, saying she just wanted to see our son and there was no need for cops. But when she attempted to slip away, the security guard stopped her. The police arrested her, and she was screaming as they put her in the patrol car. They found alcohol in her car and could smell it on her, so I asked them to add public intoxication to the charges, on top of violating the restraining order and attempting to take my son. I wasn't letting this slide. She'd crossed a line. Before they took her away, an officer said she wanted to talk to me. She was in tears, claiming none of this would have happened if I'd let her see our son. That hit me hard, but I wasn't buying it. This was the same woman who'd been a neglectful mom, cheated during our marriage, and caused nothing but trouble since. I took my son home from school, took the rest of the day off to be with him, and my wife came home early too. Seeing her cry and scream stirred up some guilt. I hadn't let her see him in person for over a year because of the restraining orders. I've sent her pictures of him, even though I didn't have to, but part of me wondered if I could have avoided this by allowing occasional supervised visits. Then I snapped out of it. There's a huge difference between seeing him and trying to take him from school. If she'd succeeded, who knows what could have happened? She brought this on herself with her reckless choices, and I can't let myself feel bad for her. Fast forward a few months, and here's how it all wrapped up. One of the wildest chapters of my life. My ex ended up in prison, hit with a slew of charges: public intoxication, driving under the influence, resisting arrest, violating the restraining order, and even attempting to take our son from school. The judge threw the book at her, sentencing her to 5 years. She couldn't afford bail, and when she reached out asking me to help cover it, I shut that down quick. It was absurd to even ask. Her public defender tried to get the charges knocked down to something lighter, but her long history of bad choices didn't do her any favors. The judge wasn't taking chances, and last month, she was officially sent to prison. She'll be there until 2029, unless she gets out early for good behavior. But honestly, I doubt she's got that in her. Her life's taken a hard turn, and while I could have gloated about karma catching up, I didn't feel that way. Instead, I just felt a quiet pity. Every mess she's in, she created herself, nobody else. Her public defender reached out, saying she wanted to talk one last time. Just me and my wife, no lawyers. She was clear she didn't want our son, who's 5 now and autistic, to see her in prison, which I respected. No kid should have to carry that image. So, my wife and I went to the prison, sitting in one of those rooms with a glass divider and phones to talk through. My ex looked surprisingly put together, probably because she was sober for once. She started off emotional, apologizing to my wife for all the trouble she'd caused, harassing her, threatening her the works. My wife, who's got a heart of gold, accepted it graciously and promised to keep loving our son like her own. After that, my wife stepped out, leaving me and my ex to talk alone. We caught up a bit, and she opened up, saying she was truly sorry and swore she'd never bother us again. She shared her plans to leave the country after her release, heading back to her home country, since her record would make starting over here tough. I wished her well, hoping she'd find a way to get her life together, but when she said she couldn't sink any lower, I wasn't so sure. She'd surprised me before. Walking out of that prison, I felt a strange mix of relief and emptiness. I'd already cut her out of my life years ago, divorced her, ghosted her, got restraining orders, but this felt final, like closing a book I'd been stuck reading for too long. All the anger and stress I carried started to fade, not because I forgave her, but because she was finally out of my world for good. Looking back, this whole saga was a wild ride, one of the craziest I've ever been through. It's a stark reminder of why you've got to walk away from toxic relationships, especially when kids are involved. People like my ex can wreak havoc, not just on you but on your children, and I'm so grateful the judge saw through her and gave me custody. My son's safe, and that's what matters most. The school stepping in that day was a lifesaver. Imagine if a new staff member had been on duty and didn't know better. She could have taken him, and who knows what might have happened. Stories like that don't always end well, and I thank my lucky stars we dodged a bullet. Now, I'm focused on building a good life with my wife and son. I don't feel bad for my ex. She made her choices, and they led her to where she is. I hope she figures things out, but that's not my problem anymore. My son never got attached to her, which is a blessing, and he's thriving with my wife, who he sees as his mom. I'm wishing for nothing but peace moving forward, and I'm grateful for the folks who've supported me through this mess.